Ladies and gentlemen, this is All Things Pro Wrestling with your host, Danny Harrow, and my co host.
And Mike Larkin, host of On the Mic with Mike and contributor to CCW Capital Championship Wrestling.
Today, we are with the one and only, the future legend, Brittnie Brooks. Brittnie, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you guys?
Good.
I'm all
Good.
right.
It's
It's a
another
Monday.
episode. It's a Monday. It's the start of the week. Yeah.
It's definitely a Monday. A
Yeah,
jet
it definitely
lagged
feels like a
Monday
Monday.
because I was just in New Jersey and New York, and that's like 3 hours ahead of me. So I'm like super like weird. And then the flight back was like the Wi-Fi went out on the flight back, so it was just not a good time. It was 5 hour flight. I was like, bro.
Hey, I've done the flight to Vegas where it's like 5 or 6 hours too. So I get that. I get
Yeah.
Yep, I get it. When there's no Wi-Fi, folks, and then you're just like searching and you're scratching like for straws and just nothing. It's a long ass flight. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with your weekend, and then we'll ask the questions. You were at the Wrestling Universe Saturday and at Wrestle Bash yesterday, which was Sunday. How were those two conventions?
It was so fun. It was my first time ever in New York and New Jersey, and I had like so much fun. East Coast Brittnie came to play. Wrestle Bash was a lot of fun because I got to meet and see a lot of people I haven't seen since like WrestleCon in LA for Mania weekend. So it was just really cool to see everybody, meet everybody, and just like get to interact with people. I love that part of wrestling. That's like one of my favorite parts because when I was a fan, like going to like I went to Royal Rumble Access in 2019, and that was like the best weekend of my life when I was a kid. So just like to bring that feeling to people that those people brought to me is like insane.
That's awesome to hear. Um, How long were you at both? Hours? How does that feel like just being there for hours and knowing that you have people coming to see you?
It like means the entire world to me. Like the fact that anybody came even like up to talk to me means like so much to me. Um It was like the hours went by so fast, and especially at Wrestle Bash because I just got to stand and talk with so many like fans as well as like other wrestlers, and then I got to like kick it with Jared Diaz, who's like one of my closest friends, and just get to like hang out with him for a few hours. So we literally went by so fast.
That's awesome to hear. Now let's start by bringing it all the way back. What got you into wrestling, or who got you into wrestling?
So, kind of my brother. So he was just watching it one day, like on his TV, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is that? Like that looks really cool." And he's like, "I don't know." I saw my dad watching it because they used to run like Raw and SmackDown on like Sunday mornings in Spanish, and so we would like occasionally just have it on our TV randomly. And I was always a kid who was like super into like. My brother started doing karate when he was 5 years old. So then when I saw that he was doing it, I wanted to do it. So like I started doing karate when I turned 6, and then we were kind of around there, and that around that time when I started karate is when I saw wrestling for the first time, and I just fell in love with it. And then we started watching it every single week. We found out about pay-per-views, which like so every time there's a pay-per-view on, we get the computer out and set it on the bar stools and just watch it, and it was just the best thing. And like as wrestling went on, as time went on, we found out about like at first we only knew about SmackDown, and then we found out about Raw, and then we found out about pay-per-views. And like it's crazy to me because I never even knew about like Impact or indie wrestling at all until I started like training. So like there's a lot of like gaps in my knowledge and a lot of wrestling that I want to go back and consume because I never knew that New Japan was a thing. I never knew that Impact was a thing. Like now with AEW, all the indie wrestlers, like I didn't even know that that existed. So like I feel like there's so much wrestling that I need to watch.
That's awesome. And like, so where at what point in your life do you go, okay, I want to wrestle?
So the first time ever that I went to a WWE show was Raw in 2013. I think it was September or no, August 26th, 2013. And I remember like I was so excited. Like I couldn't even like I went to school that day. I was in elementary school still. And the whole day I was just so excited. We got our t-shirts from Walmart, and I don't know, I just went to that show and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like the feeling of being in the crowd and like being around people who also loved wrestling because I was a kid, nobody knew about wrestling, so it was like such like my thing. And just to be around other fans was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing in the world. I was like, I want to do this one day. And like a huge, huge, huge inspiration for me was John Cena. Like he was like my superhero. I loved him so much. And the Bella Twins and AJ Lee, those were all like my biggest inspirations. And I was like, if they could do it, I could do it. And so it was just a matter of like, I had no idea. I thought that you would just kind of like try out for WWE. I didn't know how hard a tryout would be. I didn't know about indie wrestling and how like you should get out there, you should establish your name, you should be training and doing all these things. And like whenever I found that out, that was like, okay, I'm gonna find a school. So I started researching schools and like nothing really popped up. And then eventually one day I was just on Instagram and I found Arizona Wrestling Federation, which is the school that I went to and currently still go to. And from there, like I started doing their kids class and I was just like, okay, this is crazy. Like I started training when I was 14, which a lot of places you can't even train until you're 18. So I have such an edge that I really, really, really want to capitalize on. And then I started to do the adult class and then I had my first match in 2020, like right before COVID at 15 years old, which is like so wild.
So just even speaking about that, so COVID happens, does that kind of ruin your momentum at that point?
Oh, 100%. Because I went from going to training twice a week, constantly like wrestling, getting ready for this debut. Finally, I had my first match. I'm ready to start like actually wrestling. And then COVID shuts everything down for like 6, 7, 8 months. I didn't even wrestle again until 2021. And from there, I had like about 15 to 20 matches, and then I tore my ACL. So, like, people always ask me how long I've been wrestling, and I'm like, I'm the type of person who's very, very, very critical on myself. Like, I don't think I'm that great. I have so many ways to improve. But then I like look back and I'm like, well, I only really had 15 matches before I tore my ACL, and then I was out again. So it was like COVID was out for a long time, ACL was out for a long time, and then I came back in December. So I've kind of like my time for wrestling is like 4 years, but like not really.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Um, how was the comeback from the ACL injury?
It was honestly the first time I've ever been to a hospital, the first time I've ever had anything wrong with me, hurt, broke, sprained, anything. Like I've always had like the perfect like medical record. It was really hard. Like I didn't realize how much I wouldn't be able to do things. Like I remember like when I tore it, I was literally just in training. We were wrestling a little bit. Somebody put me up for a body slam and I went to get out of it and I just landed wrong. And I was like, boom. And I was like, of course it's on something where it's just me like as simple as reversing a move. Like that's what tears my ACL and meniscus. And they had told me like I remember the day that we went to the doctor, it was like April 1st, 2022, and they were like, you tore your ACL like before it. Like she just moved my leg around and felt it. And she was like, there's ligaments like torn in there. And she's like, well, you need to go get an MRI. You're going to get surgery. You're not going to be able to wrestle for a year and a half. And I was just like, what? Like, it was like shocking news to me. I was like, because I didn't think that anything was wrong. I thought my knee was just hurt. Like, it would just be better in a couple weeks. But like, she's like, no, you need surgery. And so we explored it a little. We looked into like physical therapy because a lot of people, there's a wrestler in Arizona, his name's Gallo. He like tore his ACLs and he like never got surgery on them. And like, so I was like, okay, let me see that route. And I was just like, for my age, it's probably the best idea to get it fixed now because I don't want to run into like, because I couldn't imagine it acting up right now. And I'm like really trying to break through and really trying to like wrestle every single weekend. Like I rely on my knee. Like I rely on my knees right now and I'm wrestling so many matches, building all this momentum. And then if I get injured, it would literally rip me apart. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should just get it. So I got the surgery in May, and my coach was like, I want you to push yourself, but I also don't want you to hurt yourself. So he was like, whenever you feel like you can go, just say it. So like little old me was like pushing myself at the gym. I would get like the Bosu balls and try to do squats while holding on stuff and like I got off my crutches after like a week. I was like, I don't need these. Like I got off the brace I think in 2 weeks. Cuz I just didn't want to have to rely on things. So I I eventually started, and I think I started training like 2 or 3 months post surgery, which is definitely not recommended. I remember I would have a really hard time, like even just bumping and trying to feed up, which is like when you get up, you have to get up a certain way. I couldn't even do that. Like I couldn't figure for my legs to get up. So it was just crazy. And over time, though, it started strengthening up, and I started to feel ready. And I wrestled this like battle royal private party thing, and I was so nervous because it was a battle royal, so there was like 30 people in there. So I was like, okay, well, I won't have to do much. Like, so whenever I got eliminated, I got thrown out and landed just clean on my knee. And I was like, oh my God, did I just mess it up again? Like, I was so nervous, but I ended up being okay. But then I waited, and then I had my first like official match back in December. And this is all like exclusive. I don't think I've ever even talked about that private party match. So y'all are getting exclusive content right now.
Well, there you go.
But, but yeah, December I did a 6-pack challenge with like Viva Van, Johnny Robbie, J Rod, and Milo and Anime. And that was like the 6-pack challenge. And I was like, okay, well, there's a lot of girls in this match, so I'll be able to like kind of rest a little too. So that was like a good first match. And then I had like a couple matches in January and February, and then March and April I really started picking up. So now I've been wrestling every single weekend for like 4 or 5 months now, and it's just been the time of my life. Actually, this past weekend when I was doing those signings, I was like, I don't have any matches this weekend, and this is the first time in like 5 months I'm not wrestling at least one match the weekend. So I was like, it was weird, but it was so fun to do those signings.
I was gonna ask, was having that week off from physically being in the ring a good thing or a bad thing for you?
So I did like I love meet and greets and stuff, but I was like trying to find a show. I was hitting up everybody in the area, like, "Hey, is there any shows like running Saturday night?" Like, because Jay went and he went to like Pennsylvania, but that was like 4 hours away. So like if I did the signing, I was trying to like time everything out. I was like, okay, if I did the signing and then drove over, but there was no way I would have made that show. So I was just trying to find a show because I really do want to wrestle because like wrestling is definitely my passion, and just getting any kind of rep, any time to be out there in front of people is so, so important. And I don't want to waste time. And I feel like all these weeks are passing, and I want to get as many matches as I can, learn as much as I can, get as much content as I can. But it was still super fun to do the meet and greets. But it's like anytime I have a free weekend, like right now, I have no bookings September 1st through 3rd, which is like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm trying to find something. Like I've been hitting up so many companies, talking to people like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? So then I can try to get booked there too. But yeah, it's like I don't like to sit still. And that's my birthday weekend. So like I was like, I still want to have a match on my birthday because my birthday is September 2nd. So like I want to wrestle on my birthday.
That that'd be pretty cool to rest on your birthday. Well, I'll let Michael go because yeah.
First of all, early happy birthday to you, ma'am. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Now, first and foremost, you brought up something that's very imperative here. When people think about women's wrestling, especially from the 2010s, you mentioned some great names like the Bella Twins. When you think of AJ Lee during that time period, you think of her feud with Caitlyn for the Divas Championship. I mean, there's so many different influence that we get to see a lot. And when you think of professional wrestling as a whole, it's about evoking emotions, eliciting a reaction, if you will. So one of the many promotions that we have now is Capital Championship Wrestling. Such a very short period of time, Marcella's put in the work to showcase women such as yourself and many others here. I have to ask you, you got this roulette coming up here. It's yourself, Megan Myers, Shannon Levangie, Ivy Malibu, Rachel Armstrong. How excited are for you to be in this roulette match? Because it's really going to be something just to see women like yourself and all many different, so many amazing women on the East Coast and all the way around in this matchup. Talk about that matchup.
I am so excited for this match. Like whenever like I got the booking for that day, I was like, "Who I'll be wrestling?" And they're like, "Oh, we'll get back to you." And then like when it got announced like yesterday, I was like, "Oh my God," because I'm familiar with Rachel Armstrong and Ivy Malibu, but I'm not familiar with the other girls. But now I am, and I'm following all of them. Gonna watch a lot of their matches and stuff. I'm so excited. Like Rachel is a literal star. I wrestled her in Colorado in March, and we had like a 4 minute match. It was TV, so we had a super state at that time. But it was an incredibly fun. Like Rachel is so 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 good. Like I'm so like worried about this match because there's so many stars, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna pull out the victory? Because like, yeah, so we're just like I'm just so excited. And Ivy Malibu, we about to have a Barbie flex off, you know, because she also is blonde, wears a lot of pink, and is like buff. So I'm like, okay, let's have a flex off. But no, I'm so 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 excited for this match, and also to wrestle in New Jersey because I was in New Jersey, but I didn't get to wrestle there. So I have so many people asking me like, when are you coming back to Jersey? And this, as well as a time in September that hasn't been announced yet, I will be in New Jersey. So I'm really 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 excited.
Awesome. And
And you're also, my bad, Michael. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when you think about what Capital Championship Wrestling has done, especially the Monster Factory guys, I mean, you're looking at pinnacles of history with New Jersey and the overall Northeast independent wrestling scene. I mean, such a legendary venue, a legendary building. And the best way I can describe Capital Championship Wrestling, it's the stars of today and for the stars of tomorrow. So I think that's the best way to see it. And like you talk about watching people's matches from the technological standpoint, from back in the day, from tape trading to where we are now with YouTube, it's constant tape studying and it's constant learning and adapting. And I think that is what makes professional wrestling the greatest craft that it is. So that's all I wanted to add to that. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I have worked with Capital Championship Wrestling, but it wasn't like their show. Like they sponsored a show on Midwest All Star. So I'm really excited to like actually work with the all women's company because like I was so, so, so excited when I found out about it and reached out to them and we got like working together and I'm really, really excited.
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, yeah. No, I was gonna say to add more pressure, you're gonna be at the Mecca, which here in Jersey is an important venue. It's like very independent pro wrestling. Like it's like the Madison Square Garden of New Jersey. It's like where
Oh
all the
shoot.
independents come to wrestle. Very important venue for a lot of indie stars. So not only are you going to be there for CCW, but it's also the Mecca. So just a little bit more pressure there.
Okay, I didn't even know that. Like, I'm still learning so much about the Midwest and the East Coast. Like, so I'm assuming that it's probably like the Ukrainian Cultural Center in LA, because that's
Yep,
like the
that's
big one.
exactly, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
So
crazy. Oh my
there's wrestling at that
God.
venue. There's wrestling at that venue every weekend, and people just fill it up, even if they're not familiar with the promotion, just because of the history of there's always wrestling here. So
Wow. Oh my
yeah.
God, that makes me even more excited. And my girl Brooke Havoc is on there, so West
Well, I
Coast
was gonna
taking
say, yeah,
over.
it's also headlined by Brooke Havoc, so
Yes, I'm so excited.
that's gonna be fun. That just the card in general for that night is very stacked. So you have like
Yes.
great names you're gonna be with,
Yes, I'm so excited.
and that's April. Whoa, October,
October.
October,
October
October
7th.
7th. Yeah.
October 7th. I'm working that show, and I just totally forgot what I was. Okay. Um. All right. Go ahead, Michael, because now I'm lost.
All right. So for October 7th over here, please check out the date. Mark it in your calendar. Check it out because you want to see some Brittany Brooks in action. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
So, so I do also have to ask you as well. We talk about so many different wrestling promotions. It's constantly there's one starting up in so many different states, cities, what have you. It's a great time, a refreshing time to be a professional wrestling fan. You are my friend, one of my favorites on the west side of things. We're talking about future stars of wrestling here, Las Vegas, Nevada. For those who are unfamiliar with FSW, you have greats that came out of there, like Karrion Cross, Zoe Stark, who is now on Monday Night Raw. We're talking about Eli Drake, LA Knight. Yeah, we're talking about Brian
yeah.
Cage. We're talking about Chris Bay. We are talking about an alumni of people that came from Future Stars Wrestling, Maserati. For you, you've done some work over there with Gypsy Mac, who's another great talent as well. I wanted to ask you about the Future Stars of Wrestling experience because if you look at Las Vegas, one of the premier spots, hot spots, if you will, for pro wrestling in Vegas, talk about the FSW experience.
First, you can't forget about Jay Vidal
Okay,
killing it on
yes, Jay
Impact.
Vidal and Impact. Thank you. Oh my goodness, with
Yes.
Giselle Shaw. Oh, thank you.
No, FSW. So AWF is the company that I work at in Arizona. It was my school and everything. Whenever like I first started wrestling there, I'd be like, "Oh, these guys are coming from Vegas," and it was the faction Lights Camera Faction. And I was like, "Oh, like where do you guys train at?" And they're like FSW, and I looked them up, and I was like, "This place is so cool. I want to wrestle here. I want to wrestle here. I want to wrestle here." And then I found out the promoter, hit him up, and he was just like, "Oh, maybe one day." And then that one day came because October 13th, I had my first ever match at FSW. And FSW has always been like that, like to me, FSW, really good production, really good wrestling. Like I've always wanted to be there. And it's in Las Vegas, which is a new place, not very far from me, like 4 hour drive. I'm literally leaving tomorrow so I can go train there because their training, their people, their knowledge, their everything is just so amazing. Like FSW, there's been multiple times where I'm like, I want to move there so bad. But right now I live at home like with my parents and all, like I can focus so much more on wrestling than like maintaining a job while doing all this traveling because it is really, really hard. And I still do have a job, but like I'm able to live here and like have a lot more things paid for than if I move out and move to Vegas. But I so love FSW, and if it were up to me, if I could, I would so move there. Like everybody is just so talented, so nice, so helpful. Um I just love FSW, and I think I wrestled there. I'm wrestling there 3 times this month, and I wrestled there like three. Like I literally wrestle there like every other weekend. People will be like, "Oh, where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas." I'm just always there, and it's definitely a home for me, and I absolutely love working there. And I don't know, it's just so much fun. I love FSW.
It's funny because I've gotten a chance to do a couple events at that venue. First of all, you got guys like Leon Hayter, who does a great job cheating the juniors class. You guys got like Remy Marcel there, who's another one that's just so talented, has so knowledge. Like a lot of people don't even realize, like, besides like the alumni that we mentioned and just the training and everything that goes into it, and you mentioned production wise, like a lot of great venues have featured future stars of wrestling, like Sam's Town Casino. Like a lot of people would just think, oh, it's just like, it's the party capital, it's the fight capital. I'm like, no, there's some doggone good pro wrestling there if you want to see
Yeah.
pro wrestling now, because you constantly think of the association of boxing and MMA and whatnot. But it's like, no, you get your little variety with wrestling now. So I think that's a nice mix for the Vegas night scene and the lifestyle.
Yes, it's just so much fun, and their training is incredible. They have Kenny King who trains, they have Sin Bodhi who trains, and they have a Cutthroat Cody. I think his name is he goes by something else now, but I don't want to mess it up because I met him as Cutthroat Cody, so like in my brain he's always Cutthroat
Cut there,
Cody.
Cody.
Yeah. I think I know his name's Cody Croft, but yeah, they all are just incredible trainers. And I've been in everybody's class. I haven't been to Sin Bodhi's class yet, but I do want to go soon. But I always like to go up a few days early to go train and learn from them because I have very much the mindset like you are who gets you signed. So to me, it's like I need to do whatever it takes, like learn from every single person, learn from wrestling on shows, go to training. Like I just went up to West Coast Pro to train. And I got to learn from Chris Hero, which was like crazy, and Vinny Massaro, and like just learn from everybody and take all this knowledge, go to seminars, like make connections, talk to people, pick brains. Like that's the biggest thing for me. I don't want to stay in one place. Like I love Arizona, but I don't want to stay here for the rest of my life. Like I want to make it and I want to get signed and I want to just like open my mind to all kinds of wrestling, all kinds of thought pools and everything. So, and FSW is a perfect place because they have so many trainers and so many different perspectives on things.
I think what I like about your mindset is, and I always say this, it's staying positively proactive. And what I mean by that, folks, is staying positive, staying proactive, always on the grind. You talk about learning and adaptation. I remember seeing, for those who remember Matt Stryker, the former commentator, former pro wrestler and announcer, he would always say in his seminars, always talk about you can learn something from everyone. And I adhered to a lot of that because, I mean, you may think of they haven't reached that star level, but I mean, if they're in the business and they're learning, they're taking the bumps, they're applying their craft, there's so much to learn. Instead of zigging, maybe you should zag. There's something for everybody. And I think both internally and externally, there's a lot to pick up on.
Most definitely. I so agree with that. And like when you said always working, like literally from the moment I wake up to the end, like to the end of my day, I'm like, what can I do today? Can I talk to this company? Can I get a new t-shirt design? Like today I just ordered a banner so I can have it at my next meet and greet. And I was talking to companies today and I'm like, okay, what do I do? And every night I think about it, like, what did I do today to put me in a better position? I don't want to waste a day. Especially my shirt. Off season,
Yep.
never heard of it. Shout out to Squared Circle Apparel. There's never really an off season with wrestling. I feel like if you really, really want this, you have to just always be on the grind. Like my screen time is up so high. It's because I'm always talking to companies, posting on social media, getting content, like getting photographers. Like there's always something you could be doing to get better, and that's like definitely my mindset. Like always be working, always be grinding.
It's the two P's, as I like to call it, passion and persistence. And I think you
Hmm.
exude both of them. So, yes, passion and persistence.
And like if you're doing what you're passionate, you're never gonna have to work a day in a life. Like a day in your life. Like to me, this is not work. Like this is fun. Like I love doing it. It does get a little stressful sometimes with like organizing flights and talking to all promoters and making sure that the whole scheduling works out because it is a lot for like one person to handle. But hey, it's a part of the process and honestly, once I'm there, I'm not even worried about it. Like it's just so much fun and I wouldn't trade it for the world because I whenever I'm stressed out about like multi-city travel always scares me because I'm like how am I going to make sure I get every hotel and every flight that I need and everything's organized and everything like every promoter knows where I'm going to be the night before that way that I get to the right place and the flights all work out and then I think like hey there was like 6 months where I was just sitting in my bed watching wrestling with a hurt knee like and then I'm like dude I'm like wrestling now and I can't complain because this is what I wanted and this is exactly where I'm meant to be because I also think that everything happens for a reason. Like, yeah, the ACL injury sucked, but it also taught me so much and drives me so much. Like to this day, like I learned so much from being injured, and it's just ridiculous. I grew up so much. Like I got injured, and then like I was in the process. Not only did I turn 18, and like to me, like age is kind of just a number, but like I literally went from like I completely flipped my mindset and grew up so much during that injury. It was crazy.
Not to get too spiritual on here, but I like how the fact that you just said that you believe like anything is possible and everything happens for a reason. I think God puts his little feelers out there, as I once heard this adage, and he puts his feelers out there, like where you think you're going to be here, but sometimes things go like this. But it's up to you how you turn things around and how you really find your way down your path. And I think where you are, God has put you in the right position, and you're just engine right down that highway, man. So I think you're in the right spot.
Thank you so much. I so agree with that.
Very welcome. Go ahead, Danny.
So talking about indie promotions, you have also wrestled for a promotion that right now is going crazy. Talking about Dreamwave,
I
you
love
have that.
Dreamwave too. It's so
You have the
fun.
championship match coming up.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm nervous because this is like the biggest match of my career so far. Me versus Zeta Steel, October 14th. You can watch it on IWTV. It's crazy. Like even the names that were in the scrambles that I did too, or in the spot, like I was like, Maki Ito, like she's an international treasure. I was
Yeah,
like shocked. Shaza McKenzie, Kaya McKenna, Becca, like they're all so good at what they do. And even Zeta, like I'm so excited for this match too, and like to know that it's your first ever women's title, like that is huge to me. Like that carries so much in my heart. I can't wait to see what it looks like, and I'm like so honored to be a part of this match. And the cards are just stacked. Like they have such big names on the show. To even like be mentioned with them is like such like a huge thing to me. And then to be presented the belt by Medusa, that blows my mind. Like I'm so excited, but also so nervous because the pressure is on. Like this, you like they put out a tweet the other day where it was like you can always be the next, but you can never be the first.
yeah.
So I'm going to do everything in my power to stop Zeta and then win this title, become the first ever Dreamwave Women's Champion because that belt means so much to me. And just to know that Bret Hart is also on that show is like insane to me. And like some of the names that they have, people who are killing it on the indies, like just insane.
I agree. It's gonna be a crazy show. You can catch that on IWTV. So we covered the indies, but you were also on AEW Dark when
I
Dark
was.
was around. Talk to us a little bit about that experience, the whole thing, getting booked on there, going to the arena, and give us the whole thing.
Oh, that was wild. So every time that like wrestling comes to town, they search for local talent to like bring in as extras for matches or just to like be there to help out. So when I found out that AEW was coming to Phoenix, and I had never even expected like to even anybody know who I am. And like even this weekend, like I was like, how do people like know who I am? Like I've never wrestled on the East Coast before. Like people just don't know me. Like I will never ever ever expect anybody to ever heard of me because like I'm still very very new to this. And when I got the email, I was shocked, right? And I started stressing out and everything. And just to know that I had the chance to wrestle at a venue that I went to 10, maybe 13 shows to as a fan, like that 2013 day, that was at that venue. I saw so many wrestling shows there from the nosebleeds to the floor seats. Like I went to so many shows at the Footprint Center. It used to be called like US Airways, then it was called Talking Stick Resort Arena, and now it's called the Footprint Center. Like I went to so many concerts there, so many everything there to like be there backstage. And then you kind of like don't know if you're in a match until like super soon, like before it starts. And so like the anticipation, I was so nervous because like I had never gotten an opportunity that big before. And then I went out there and gave it my all, but definitely got beat up by the pros. But no, like the match was really fun. And I remember somebody had told me like make sure you take a look around the arena before like because it's just so nerve-wracking. Like we got preloaded into the ring, so they took us like into the ring.
Yeah.
And I was just like shaking, and I heard people like yelling because like it was in Arizona, so people kind of know who, like a little bit who I am if they follow the Arizona indie scene. And then I saw some of my friends like in the front row, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. Because also I never told anybody that I had gotten invited, but I also never told anybody that I would once I did find out I was wrestling a match, I didn't have time to tell anybody because we had to like start getting ready and everything. So yeah, it was wild. Super fun, insane exposure. Like even the photos that they do there, it's just so professional, and you use that as like my main photo for a while. But that day also lit a fire in me because I was also like when I was injured, I was seeing all my friends get on dark, and I was so excited for them. But I was also like, dude, like I'm sitting here with a knee injury. Like I have to get back and I have to. So that was like the goal. Like when I come back, I'm going to get on AEW Dark. And I had never in a million years would have thought I'd been invited, let alone gotten a match. Because there's also like extras who get invited that don't wrestle a match. Like I've been an extra a few more times and not wrestled a match. But it's like, it was just the best experience of my life. And then I was like, dude, like I'm going to make this like, I'm going to make it. Like I have to make it. Now that I've tasted it, I need to make it. I need to get signed, and I need to have this feeling every single time I walk out and wrestle. So that's like a goal. Like I need to make it to Impact, AEW, or WWE. Like those are that's it for me. Like I need that. And now like it's more important to me than ever just tasting it a little bit and seeing like, dude, these people get to do this. Like everybody backstage, they get to do that every single week. And so I'm like, I need that. Like I can't rest until I get that. Even when I do get that, I still can't rest because I need to be the best. So like I don't know. That's just like my mindset on it.
But just to go back on something you said it surprised you how people in the East Coast or people that are not from the West Coast know who you are. I think I would say you're definitely doing something right for people in the East Coast to know about you. So I think that's a good thing when people from areas that are not around you know who you are. It just definitely means you're doing something right with your craft that it's being noticed all the way in the East Coast. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I've been grinding like social media to me is such an important thing because I always talk to my coach about it, and I'm like, he never had the chance to like send like I mean, we have the internet, we have social media. They used to have to like ride in cars for hours and hours, which I have done just to like show a tape, right? But like we have social media, we have marketing strategies, like we have the ability to reach anybody anywhere. And that is just so important. Like matches are instantly uploaded online. You can watch them live. Like you don't have to be at the show to see these people. And that's like why I think it's so important to utilize social media like crazy. Like I feel bad because I feel like I post too much, but I saw this thing somewhere where it's like you should try to post every day because if these companies, and I have a lot of companies that I've never worked for that are following me on like online, these companies are constantly seeing you, they're gonna get annoyed and they're gonna be like, what if we just book this girl? Like she looks like she's doing something, let's book her. So that's like been my thought process. Like let's try to get at least something out every day. and make it content, make it engaging, make it something that people want to see. So like that's super important to me.
Yeah, that's really great. That's actually really smart. I've heard people talk about how you should utilize social media more to your advantage. So that was a great point. I'm gonna let Michael go now.
I think to add to that, first and foremost, it's the social media saturation, if you will, of just putting yourself out there and marketing yourself. What I really like about it too is as well, I mean, that also shows that gravitational pull, if you will, because I could tell by how you carry yourself, Brittnie, professionalism, locker room etiquette, if you will, that goes a long way and that helps you get booked onto many promotions. They know how you are going to be in the ring. And I mean, the promotion that you get with AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation, you have so many things like when WWE had Sunday Night Heat and you had Velocity, you had many different shows to really showcase your stuff and really provide you the platform to do what you do. So more exposure is good exposure, but also at the same time, it gives you that look, it gives you that overall feeling of just going out there, applying your craft, make the most of your time. So there's many layers and levels to everything that really makes the professional wrestling experience such a vast, just knowledge and much a vast overall funness that goes into it. Like you talk about not it being a job and really fulfilling one's destiny and just really going out there. So I just have to put that over too as well. So I mean, you obviously are doing something right with your etiquette and professionalism, and that really goes a long way, not just in wrestling, but within life in itself.
Thank you so much. Yes, I so agree.
But that's it
So,
too. And I mean, my apologies, Danny.
nah,
Just
go
real quickly here. I mean, you have women like Diamante and Marina Shafir and Nyla Rose like in the ring with you with AEW. And I mean, for me, I look at women like that, and of course, Maserati is on your team along with Miss May. But god dang it, man, Diamante coming out straight out of Impact Wrestling. Then you see Marina Shafir coming off her WWE run, being one of the original four horsewomen of MMA, if you will, transitioning into pro wrestling. And you got Nyla Rose, who's been all over Japan, the Northeast. You're really in there with the crop and really getting a chance not just to only make yourself look good, but also go out there and put on a doggone good match in front of your peers. So, I mean, it's the rush. It's the adrenaline rush, if you will, but it's a roller coaster ride. I can only imagine for you, it's the roller coaster of emotions, if you will.
Yeah, it was crazy, like so nervous. Then just like, oh my God, like I'm here, like relief. And then I was like, oh my God, like I gotta wrestle this match. I gotta do good. And then just like, yeah, looking around at the end, I was just like, this is wild. Like I just wrestled in a place where I've seen hundreds of matches in as a fan. And like that it made me like so emotional. I was like, oh my God, like this is wild. But yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster of emotions.
I mean, that's the thing too, as the song says, grinding all your life, grinding all your life. So there it is.
Yes.
Good, Danny.
so you faced some big indie names or hot talent right now. You have Alan Angels, you have Brogan Finley, Kid Bandit, Trish Dora, JC Storm. Who is your dream opponent in the indies specifically that you might not have faced yet?
I want to wrestle Billy Starks. I feel like when people ask me this, I get so like I feel like I'm so annoying about it because I want to wrestle Billy so bad. She is literally like the same age as me, but she like inspires me so much because I see all that she's doing and I'm like, dude, I want to get to her level. Like I want to be on her level and like all those people that I have wrestled, like I learned so much from each and every single person, whether they're a name or they're not. Like I think every single match is a time to learn, a time to get better, and a time to just create magic. And I would love to wrestle Billy Starks.
I think with Billy actually being a part of the CCW roster, I that's definitely a big possibility.
Yes.
It's funny because our last guest, which was Erica, that was her dream opponent for the Indies as well. So it looks like everyone's targeting Billy.
She is Space Jesus. Like, what are we supposed to do?
That is true. That's very true. Michael, go ahead.
I mean, you have it's a fountain of youth. I mean, back in the day, if you look at from the pop culture side of things, we had Fountains of Wayne with their hit single "Stacy Mom." We have the fountain of youth, if you will, for professional wrestling with women such as yourself, Brittnie, and Billy Starks, and like you just mentioned, Erica over here. There's so many great talents that are really going out there, and what I love about this generation as well, we mentioned social media. There's a lot of talents like we talk about learning and absorbing and really taking it all and adapting to one style. I mean, back in the day, I mean, you also have flyers. Like if you're at a wrestling event and then they put the flyers on your car, right? And then boom, okay, maybe I want to check out this event. And I could tell from you from an imagery standpoint here, Miss Brittnie Books. I mean, you got the blonde hair, you got the smile. There's something that's very engaging about that. You know how to put yourself out there to people. And I think not only does that continue to take you far, but there's someone out there, whether it be a young girl or whoever wants to get into professional wrestling, you are their it, so to speak. And I think that's got to make you feel not only awesome, but very rewarding because you are the next generation of what we're going to see today's generation who want to get into professional wrestling, want to train and really absorb and take everything in and just go out there and just say, hey, I can do this. I can apply my craft and let's let nature take its course, so to speak. So, I mean, that's got to be very rewarding for you.
It does. It means the world to me. Like at Wrestle Bash, there was like this little girl. She came up to me. She was like shaking. She was like, "Oh my God, you're so cool!" And I was just like thinking to myself, like when I met the Bella Twins, like that. If I can capture the feeling of like how the Bella Twins made me feel as a kid into another like little boy, little girl, like that is all I want in wrestling. Like to inspire people and make people feel like I don't know, like I would just get so emotional when I was about to be a wrestler. And the fact that like this little girl came up to me and she was like the same way, like that meant the whole entire world to me to just inspire and make people feel like that's all that wrestling is like creating emotion. And just to do that in one person would mean the world to me. And like being someone's it to me is like all I've ever wanted. Like just to have that impact on people, I think is insane.
I got to go back to also something that you said earlier because it made me smile when you were talking about watching wrestling like later on. Like I was a kid, I started watching in '02, folks. So when John Cena, Randy Orton, and Brock Lesnar and everybody was coming up, that's when I started. Obviously knowing about it, but what I love about how you tell your story there, it's like going back and watching TNA or early Ring of Honor. That's what you have to do because I mean, it's evolved so much, but also at the same time, it doesn't matter when you start watching wrestling if you're serious about it. And you mentioned the Bella Twins, who my God, what they've done for women's wrestling as a whole, and from the 2000s to the 2010s and to now. I mean, a lot of girls. I mean, you look for the reality side of things. We have the influx of pop culture and wrestling here. Like, if people didn't watch Total Divas or Total Bellas, hey, you may not know wrestling, but you know who the Bellas are, and you see what they're doing, and that engages the girls to want to become professional wrestlers now. So it's another avenue, which is great to see.
Yeah, like seeing everything that wrestling has become now and seeing even like indie wrestling. Like sometimes I'll invite like my coworkers or something to my show and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I used to watch wrestling as a kid." And like some people will be like, "Oh, I watched that reality show. Like you're a wrestler too?" Like that's crazy to me. Or like people never even knew. Like some of my friends are like, "Oh my God, I didn't know like you could do WWE like as an independent wrestler." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, like come on." And they had so much fun at the show and like it's crazy because like there's so many avenues, so many ways to consume wrestling. Like you said before, like I try to watch as much indie wrestling as possible because I want to know what other people are doing, what promotions are things that I should be looking to get on. And like I have a long list of places I really want to work, like PCW Ultra, Defy, Prestige. I really want to wrestle in Florida. I think it would be so much fun. Create a pro, like there's so many big companies that I so want to be a part of, and like even to dabble a little in the bigger ones like Dreamwave and Mission Pro too is like, and CCW, like those are so cool to me. FSW, like those are like, to me, I have like a list of all the companies that I want to work before the end of 2024, so I'm really hoping to get there.
I mean, and I'll say this to anybody who wants to check out some great developmental or indie matches. There's one from Memphis Championship Wrestling from 2001. So this was one of the companies that WWE worked with for developmental. It features William Regal and a young Brian Danielson. And I will say this, for the time that they had, they made the most of it. So I think it's still on YouTube. Go to 2001 Memphis Championship Wrestling, watch from Brian Danielson and William Regal. Chain wrestling out the wazoo. It's really good. I urge anybody to check it out, including yourself.
Oh, I most definitely will.
Go ahead, Danny.
So I asked about the dream match for independent wrestling. Who would be your dream match outside of
I
independent wrestling?
I want to wrestle Charlotte Flair because I know she is the top woman. Like, nobody can top her wrestling skill, but also she's at the top, whether she's champion or not, whether she's on Raw or SmackDown, anywhere. Like, she's her. You know how they're like, oh, he's him?
Yeah,
She's her,
she's
dude.
all.
Like, I want to wrestle Charlotte Flair so bad. I think I would learn so much from her, and I really hope that I do get to the level one day to be able to do that.
There's going to be a hot take here, but never mind.
Okay.
I just,
I'll
agree to
follow.
disagree.
Ooh,
Oh,
okay.
okay. All right. I was gonna
I
follow
don't
up
know. I
because
love Charlotte though. I respect her. I've met her a couple times. She's really cool.
I was
Um,
going to follow up with him on that because I think I know where he's going. So I'm just going to follow up with this. So people will say what they will from the agree to disagree. Oh, God, they're always giving Charlotte the title. I'm like, all right, this woman from where she was in NXT in like 2013 when she was with like Summer Rae and Sasha Banks and the whole nine there, folks. You saw the early stages of Charlotte. But once that match with Natty came about and she won that NXT Women's Championship, she went from like here to here. And then you just saw that resume grow. People talk about it, oh God, how come she's always in the mix? But I'm like, well, when you are the mix and you're the echelon, if you will, I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? She has that peak. There are so many great talents, but I mean, if you try to like her and Rhea, I'm going to say right now, people talk about one of the best matches on WrestleMania night one. Her and Rhea friggin' killed it from top to bottom. I mean, everybody talks about Kevin and Sammy, but God dang it, man, Rhea and Charlotte really outdid, especially a lot to prove from where they were in 2020 wrestling in just the performance center. So I mean, hey, it's the story is written, so it be told, and now she's spoken and she had them gold, man. That's all I'm saying. I apologize for my rant. Go ahead.
Sasha Banks, personally,
Hey,
personally, that's just me though.
all right, fair enough.
Just putting that out there.
I would love to wrestle Mercedes. Like, I think that would be insane. She's incredible too. Like, definitely a dream match.
No,
No,
agreed
I
on
agree.
that because New Japan, like that debut, like was sick. Just her going out there against Kairi Sane. I mean, and for her, I mean, she's talked about it many a times, just wanting to go to Japan, and she did it. You put things out there, and it manifests.
Um, yeah. So before we close up, I got a question for you. Now, I don't know if you heard this yesterday, so I'm kind of like, hope you didn't hear it. But I mean, I know you saw the video with Jared, so it's the
Is
same
that what the
question.
question is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Um, so if you had the attention of the world for 5 minutes, what advice would you give them?
I would just say be kind to people. I feel like there's so like everywhere you go, whether this could be applied to wrestling or anything, like it takes no money, no nothing to just be nice to people. I literally work a normal job, and every single time I'm like, hi. Like I'm always just like that's I guess my personality, and I get it. Not everyone's gonna have like a bubbly, kind personality, but like, because you could be having a day, but like just try to be nice to every single person because you never know what they're going through. You never know what could be happening, and like especially in wrestling, like you never like it I understand we're all at competition. We all want to get a contract. We all want to be better. But in no way will ever putting another person down make you look any better. Like I have dealt with a lot of pettiness and a lot of people just trying to find something to hate. And people will always try to find something to hate, but it's honestly how you take it and how you carry yourself. And like, I don't know, just constantly being kind. Like this person could be so rude to me, kill him with kindness because then they'll be like, oh, like that didn't phase her, and then they'll start thinking about themselves and thinking about how they just treated the person. So that would be my, I guess, advice and my hope for people.
Perfectly said. Thank you for that. Before we close up, Michael, anything else you'd like to say?
Well, to add on to her point, I think, well, first of all, we can tell about the bubbliness and just the smiles, and I think it's very infectious. And I would say stay the way you are because that's going to affect a lot of people in a very good way. But I think what we can also take about it is it's a little acts of kindness that really do anything. And one of the quotes that I'm big of on, and I've said this on this show and many of my other shows I've done, life is an art form, and we are all applying our crafts. So in life, let's continue to apply our crafts in amazing fashion. And same with you, Miss Brittany Brooks, and what you do in professional wrestling as a whole. Just continue to apply your craft.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Very welcome. But yeah, that's my last.
Now, oh yeah. Well, lost my train of thought. Where can people follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram at the Brittany Brooks. Facebook is Brittany Brooks. Twitter is Brittany Brooks. I'm starting my vlog channel on YouTube, which is
Hey,
also I think it's the Brittany Brooks. I have some matches up from a while ago, but haven't posted in a long time. Now I'm starting to vlog, and then I have TikTok at the Brittany Brooks.
Awesome. Where can people get your merch like this one, right?
Ooh, okay, so that shirt is exclusively in person, but I do have a crossover Future Legend X Brittany Brooks, and you can get that at futurelegend.com. All the links are on my social medias. And then I also have a Summer of Brittany logo that's up on Pro Wrestling Tees. Probably gonna start uploading more onto there. And then I do have a storefront here with a couple other designs. So I kind of have my designs spread out among other places because I'm experimenting a lot with like where I want my stuff. But yeah, check it out there.
Awesome. Michael, do you want to close this out?
Well, I'll make one final pop culture reference. The Britney Spears over here. Oops, she did it again. And she will do it again each and every time that you see her on the independent scene in any professional wrestling match that she has. B squared in the place to be. For Danny Harrell, my name is Mike Larkin. And for Brittany Books, this concludes another edition of All Things Pro Wrestling. If you're not following the show, what the heck you doing? Go on to ATPW Pod on the Twitter machine, Instagram, All Things Pro Wrestling, and subscribe to our YouTube because you won't regret it. We got different shows, we got different interviews, especially the one that you're going to listen to tonight, folks. So all I can say is Brittany Brooks, we can't wait to see what the future holds for you, and we can't wait to see you do your thing. And to quote Brittany one more time, is Brittany bitch. So Brittany Brooks, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys for having me. This was so much fun. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.